I'm pretty much a stay-at-home mom. I think I sacrifice some stuff to be a stay-at-home mom, but I think it's absolutely worth it. I think I heard an interview before from a hospice nurse, and she said, what is people's biggest regret on their deathbeds? And they say, I didn't spend enough time with my family. She said she'd always heard it from men, but in recent years she's heard it more from women who chose to have a career and, send their kids off to daycare. And I understand some people have to do that. Some people do not have the financial means. I understand that I am privileged in that sense. However, if I have the option to be a stay-at-home mom and be there with my kids, then I will take that. So I think that it's worth it. I think just that I have influence over my child, and it isn't just a stranger who's raising them, whose ideology I may not agree with, and who may be out of his life. And I'm always going to be there.
I was going to ask, are you going to send him to public school?
That's a decision we have not made yet.
Okay.
But he's only 3.
Mm-hmm.
I am homeschooling him, I suppose, even though, you know, he's learning his colors and numbers and the dinosaurs. He knows quite a few of those.
Have you given him any skateboards? Should give him a skateboard.
Yeah, he actually has a scooter.
Ooh.
All right, I guess.
Okay. He has like a dinosaur helmet with spikes on it.
Nice. Oh, cool. I like that. That's punk.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Growing up skateboarding, there would always be these scooter kids at the skate park, and skateboarders were so annoyed because they'd get in the way and didn't know what they were doing. But I'll tell you, the craziest thing is, like, I see this scooter kid at the skate park, and I'm like, oh, these scooter kids, man. Like, they're always in the way. I get it. They're kids. They're here. They're playing. It's fine. But their parents got to tell them about, like, teach them about etiquette and stuff. Then it's like 4 years later, and the scooter kid is now like 15, and he's doing backflips and like launching, 10 feet in the air. And I'm like, damn, the scooter kid's good now. This is rad. Like, now it's fun to watch. So yeah, scooter's cool. No, I think definitely physical activity, mental activity, and I'd say, dude, if it were me, don't put him in school, man. It's tough. That having your kid understand the system from within it is probably really important, but it can only be done with your guidance outside of the school.
Absolutely.
Like for me, I went to grade school, and they fill your head with complete bunk garbage. And then I would go home and have my mom be like, that's not true.
She'd set you straight, yeah.
And then I was like, oh. And then I realized what the system was, and sort of, but I was very young. But I was like, oh, okay, so this is not entirely legitimate. And so I would see how the system worked, but was constantly being reminded from outside of it what the system was. Also, I started working for my family's business when I was like 9 or 10 years old, because we had a family cafe. And then you hear real conversations from real adults. You deal with real money, and you have real experience in the real world. You go to school and everything's so trivial and nonsensical,
Yeah. I think parental involvement is number one. I grew up going to government schools, but I had a family who's more conservative. My grandfather was a huge influence on me. He was more of a libertarian type, and he would tell me, just kiss their butt, get an A, and then just everything they say go out the other ear.
That's good. That's good.
So, yeah.
It's kind of like, it is a lot like military academy, like public school. Sit down, wait for the bell to ring, raise your hand, don't speak out of line, stand up. Some places have dress codes. Mm-hmm. I wonder if sending kids off to military school at the age of 4 or 5 is wise.
I don't know about military school.
Pre-military school, let's call it, like pre-K.
No, I think having good parents,
school.
a good balance between masculine, feminine, and physical activity and mental activity, having a strong father and mother who can provide a good balance of perspective. Suppose not everybody gets that, though. You got to be lucky. Are you going to have a dad who's like a short, overweight middle manager who is deferential to everybody, and just whenever someone pushes him around, he apologizes and tells his kid to keep his head down and not fight back? Or is he going to be this like ripped lumberjack guy who's like, don't take nothing from nobody? And then he like, here's your shotgun. I know you're 7, but think you can handle a 12 gauge, son. And then you got to have the mom being like, don't give him a 12 gauge when he's 7. You got to have that mix. You know what I mean?
Good
you got to, you got to give him the 410. Come on,
man.
Start small. Give a kid a gun that big.
Jeez.
No, I don't know. I think, it's tough, especially now because millennials aren't having kids. They lack purpose. And there seems to be in my opinion, dangerous cultural shift that has nothing to do with tradition or progression. It's not about being progressive or being a traditionalist. It's about, humans have kids. You know what I mean?
That's our purpose, yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's purpose, but I know like when you have kids, your kids become your purpose. And that if you don't have kids, humanity ceases to exist. Your culture ceases to exist. Here's what's fascinating to me. When I hear from liberals, and their attitude is very much, who cares if America ceases to exist? Have you ever heard the sentiment from liberals? Like you see it on Twitter. They'll take like a quote from a conservative who's like, you have to have kids to preserve America and its culture. And they'll be like, why? And that's why it's really fascinating to see conservatives. This overlaps a lot with like immigration. Yeah. Concern about immigrants coming in and displacing American culture and getting rid of Christmas. Conservatives very much want to conserve these traditions in their culture. I'm actually not particularly conservative. I just think if you don't have kids, then there's no people. So, I mean, I guess we can build robots to replace ourselves. We're not doing that either.
Or live longer. Like we live to be 200, then we need to have like 40% as many children or something.
Maybe it's like what you were saying, Ian. Was it apoptosis?
Yeah.
That's for real, man.
It's like the Mouse Utopia. You get to a certain point where you're just consuming and doing nothing, and you just...
Before the Roman Empire crumbled, basically a lot of homosexuality started, or homosexuality spiked, I believe, and there was just a lot less making babies. I don't know. They were living in like the age of gluttony, pretty much. They had everything. They didn't care. They didn't want to serve in the military anymore because that they might lose what they had, and they loved their things, and then they got conquered from the outside.
Yeah. I think people mention a lot the Mouse Utopia. Have you heard of that? They basically created this space where they put a bunch of mice or rats or something, and they gave them all food and said, like, no matter what happened, they never ran out of food. They never ran out of food or water. Oh. And so they eventually just, like, some stopped eating, some started eating others, some just stopped reproducing and just died. And, people wonder if we as humans are susceptible to something similar, where we've reached this point where people don't have to work. And I mean it. When you've got somebody who lives in New York City and their job is to write articles for BuzzFeed, I'm sorry, that's not work. It's not work. Work is like, I have to grow the food, I have to hunt, I have to build the house, I have to start the fire, I have to generate the electricity to power the machines, I have to find the energy source so that we can stay warm in the winter. Writing articles about celebrity gossip is not work. Oh, they'll say it's so hard.
Isn't that a good thing, though? Like, I look back... I'm a woman, obviously, but my great-grandfathers were coal miners and such hard work. I look back at my great-grandmothers, like, they had to cook everything from scratch and wash everything from, they didn't have laundry machines or dishwashers. And I think we're so lucky to not have to do all that stuff.
Going back to, yes, and so I'll attach that to what Ian was saying about, you're talking about Rome, right?
Yeah.
Or Greece?
Well, both probably. Yeah. I think there's a lot of vanity and gluttony at the end of both of those.
Here's what I see. When the culture is stagnant, or if the technology isn't fast enough, and it's a weird hybrid moment of reaching that apex of technology with population to where the culture stagnates. Then once Rome collapsed, the technology persisted. A lot of this information persisted and spread out a little bit, and then started to improve, and people started to fight again and work hard again. And then you come to the colonial era, European colonialism and things like that, striving for more and no longer just being like, I want to be a layabout glutton because I have all this stuff. So the technology remains, things become easier, but then the quest reemerges. So maybe what's going to happen for us is that some kind of, massive, century turning or millennium turning, where we've reached this point where we as a culture are all gluttonous because technology has granted us this. After our culture collapses, then there will be a struggle again, but that technology will still exist. So then in another couple hundred years, it'll be even better for everybody. And then they'll start becoming gluttonous and lazy. You know what I mean?
I guess the question is, do we have it too good in America? Because my father-in-law is from the Soviet Union, and he, it wasn't such a great time in the Soviet Union. He looks at these American kids and teenagers and millennials having this depression and anxiety, and he's like, what the heck? You guys have pretty much everything you want. You live in nice places. You have all this food, and why could you possibly be depressed? Because they don't have a purpose, right? And I think, Andrew Yang wants to send everyone $12,000 a year. It's like, is that, I don't know. People can just like sit back and relax and play video games all day and get a decent, apartment and have enough money. What?
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.